Hey, you may not recognize this voice, but I am Zara D'Cotta, friend of Ashley's in the building biology space. And when Ashley had me on her podcast, I did what any self-respecting manifester would do, and I asked if I could interview her. She has created this space to shine a light on others, and today we are shining it on her. So welcome to what might be the first episode Ashley has ever been a guest on her own podcast. Today, we're going to explore how Ashley navigates supporting clients through some of the most high stakes, complex decisions of their lives, how she's evolved her practice, and what it means to be doing this work at the level she's doing it. Ashley, I've known you for 5 years. We met through our studies at the Building Biology Institute. And in that time, I've seen you become one of the most multi-dimensional, knowledgeable and valuable practitioners in the healthier building space. The breadth and depth of your lived experience and professional experience is quite extraordinary. So I'm really excited for this chat. Welcome, Ashley, to your own podcast. And thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you so much, Zara. I'm honored that you are willing to interview me and take over the show today. I'm really excited to see what you got for me.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity and the trust that you've placed in me. Thank you. Professionally, you are an interior designer, you're an electromagnetic radiation specialist, a building biology environmental consultant, a passive house tradesperson. I know you've evolved as you've been through these different certifications. You've also got lived experience with environmental illness. You've evolved significantly in how you support clients, from your conscious construction container to your consulting services. And I know that you're currently doing owner's rep work, which I'm so interested, and I'm sure your listeners will be so interested to learn more about. So can you tell me how this has evolved and what being an owner's rep involves and how that currently plays out on a project?
Well, 2018 was when I really recognized that the environments I was living in, working in, were playing a role in my health. But I had struggled with symptoms that I didn't really have a reason for quite some time. So it really started in college.
Wow.
And there was a lot of things happening in college. I wasn't taking good care of my body. I was drinking a lot. I was staying up late. So it was easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm just not taking care of myself. But then whenever I got out of college and started entering the workforce and becoming an interior designer and working in firms and whatnot, I wasn't partying anymore and I wasn't drinking and I wasn't staying up late and these symptoms persisted. That was really what led me on a health journey of different diets and veganism. And I tried everything, juice cleanses, like all the things you think you need to do, just working out, like all these different things. And none of them were really, they helped for sure. Definitely putting an emphasis on better and healthier lifestyle definitely made me feel slightly better, but there was still a missing piece. I had a lot of neurological issues during that time. And I worked in interior design firms and I also helped my parents' development company where I was actually in the field on site doing the painting, building kitchen cabinets, working on kind of dirty construction sites. You know, they weren't passive house level clean sites or anything. They're just as traditional construction sites, breathing all this stuff in, no PPE. And so things just continued to get worse until about 2018 when I realized, holy crap, everything I'm being exposed to is playing a role in my health. And it was like at that moment where I really focused in on cleaning up the products I was using in my life, looking more at the toxins potentially in my food and water, looking at what I was sleeping in, wearing, breathing in my everyday environment. And then ultimately that led me to being like, well, I'm doing interior design for people and I'm putting vinyl wallpaper on their walls. There's a disconnect here. And that was really what opened me up toward building biology, healthier homes, healthier environments, and ultimately led me to the Building Biology Institute. And so then I decided to quit my job at the architecture firm that I was working at the time and start Awakening Spaces. And I just wanted to help people. At the very beginning, it was just consulting. It was like one-off consults, like how can we make your home healthier? It's just small interior design projects where it's like, how can we choose and select healthier materials? And that led me to a project where I was the lead interior designer on the project. And there was a healthy home architect, there was a healthy home builder, and everything seemed like it was going to be the dream healthy home. And the project ended up in a massive lawsuit. I was not a part of the lawsuit, but the builder,
oh my goodness,
ended up walking off the site, not completing everything. You know, the client moved in, kept finding issues over time. The windows were leaking. All types of things had happened. And what I realized was that it takes a lot more than people who claim that they are the healthy builder or the healthy architect or even the healthy interior designer. It takes more than that to create a successful, healthy project. What was really lacking on this project was oversight. That was really the key piece missing. The client wanted to save money and they wanted to get the designs and have their builder take over. I find that whenever it stops being a team effort, things can go awry.
Yes.
And, what is health? I talk about that on this podcast all the time. What does health mean? Because this builder, looking back, he could claim healthy all day long, but he didn't know what he was doing. Yeah. And so that's what led me into OCUP. How do I protect my client? Because it was so heartbreaking. They were living in a moldy environment. They wanted to move into their home super quickly and they wanted to do it really cheap, and inexpensive. And not only did it cost them hundreds of thousands and more dollars because they ended up in this litigation, but it took them years to move into the house. What I've also learned is that we really have to take a step back and do proper planning and we've done all of our due diligence before we jump into a project, because oftentimes the clients and projects, when you go in with the best of intentions, thinking, I want to get this done quick and I want to get this done cheap and I want it to be healthy. If you want it to be a durable, healthy home, it's probably not going to be quick and it's probably not going to be cheap. One or the other.
I respect you so much for an experience like that as your first project. I think could be enough for a lot of people to walk away to say, this is too risky. I don't want to be involved. But look at how you've evolved and the level of care and responsibility that you're bringing to projects is amazing. And I completely resonate with what you said about the moment it becomes about one person. Like, I know a lot of clients will seek out, help me find a healthy home builder. And they want the builder to just be responsible for delivering the healthy home builder, but they don't understand the role that design and planning plays and the need to bring in specialists, which is obviously what you're doing through your owner's rep work. So I know that you've told me that you're on projects that you're working on now, you're actually bringing in an EMF specialist, a building envelope specialist, a material specialist. Now, you could theoretically play any of these roles on a project. You could wear any of those hats. You're acting as the owner's rep. So what does that actually involve?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think early on in my career, I tried to be every one of these roles for the people that I was working for. But the truth is that these roles are very intensive. A healthy material specialist has a lot of work to do, a lot of research to do. An EMF specialist has a lot of work, a lot of research to do to manage the project, to oversee all the consultants. That is a lot of work to do as well. That's 20 to 40 hours a week easily. And on a big project, it depends on the project size, right? And how involved the owner wants to be. But even on my projects where the owner is still pretty involved, it's 20 hours minimum a week. That's sometimes not enough. Most of the time, it's not enough of oversight that needs to happen to ensure that all the trades, that all the decisions that you've made are actually getting implemented how you expect them to make sure that everyone is aligned and communication is flowing. It really takes a lot of effort. And so there came a point in time where I was like, this is too much for one person to be doing. I can't do all of these things because what is happening is that I'm not doing any one of these things well enough.
Wow.
And I felt like where I really excelled was that because I do have training in the passive house side, the electromagnetic side, the building materials side, and just working in construction my whole entire life, I feel like what I excelled at was knowing what questions to ask, knowing how to find the team, and knowing kind of when to spot bullshit.
This was my next question was, do you ever find yourself with the knowledge that you have challenging the recommendations from any of these specialists? And how does that play out? Does it happen in front of the homeowner? Is it a side conversation? What happens?
It's usually a side conversation because this is the thing. Like, we're all human and it's all about getting to understanding why someone is making the recommendation that they're making. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be like, I don't like that recommendation. It's more so like, well, let's have the conversation about why we're making this recommendation and understand it so that we can provide the owner with informed consent. They can be presented with the information to choose which option they want. They know the pros and cons of each thing because it's never like one thing is better than the other. It's always a conversation, but homeowners don't know what questions to ask usually.
No. And that's why that you're playing such a valuable role, because as you and I know, we spend so much time going back and forth debating various topics that, you know, one of us is looking for a black or white answer on, but we both know there are so many gray areas. It is so nuanced. So you're doing really, really important work on behalf of the homeowner.
Thank you. I mean, I love it because I love collaborating. I think being a collaborative team player is really fun. And I love learning from every single person on the project, like the builder, the electromagnetic radiation specialist, the materials specialist. It's just like you're just constantly learning more, and it's really fun.
Yeah. And imagine it must just feel like a huge weight lifted for the client. As I was thinking about what this discussion with you and the work that you're doing, I remember my own experience going through breast cancer and having to go to all these different specialists and finding it so overwhelming and navigating it all. And my mum and I were like, it's almost like we need one person that's conducting the orchestra and acting as the person to help navigate all the decisions. So it's pretty much what you're doing in a healthy building context.
Yeah. And actually, I wonder if that role actually exists, because that really good role too. It's very similar, right? You're going to all these different people. Everyone is providing you with an opinion. And it's like, well, how do you connect the dots?
Yeah.
Who's going to help us connect these dots?
Genetics people that are saying you should do this, and you're oncologist and your surgeon's going, no, you don't need to do that. And you're like, well, who do I believe?
Exactly. It's very much the same thing.
Okay, so there are so many decisions that have to be made on any project, let alone a healthy building project. And I can imagine decision fatigue is real. And I know that you're often working with clients who are still in the thick of chronic illness, environmental illness, and brain fog, and they're not in their best state of health or thinking to be making these decisions. So is there a common theme in terms of the most challenging decision points? Because as I said, we both know there's rarely black or white answers, but is there a common theme, and how do you help them navigate when it's feeling overwhelming or they're not really sure which path to take?
Well, the biggest common theme specifically with my clients is the risk of water damage and potential for water damage. If it's a renovation project, how do we handle the existing damage that we've had from water or mold? And how do we handle that properly? And how do we time that and align that with the new construction and what we're removing and how we're removing it? The timing of the remediation and the removal and the build back, like that definitely gets very tricky. And on a renovation project specifically, it's a lot easier on a new build project. But I'd say that those are probably some of the bigger decisions, because those are the most expensive decisions as well. And so depending on how involved I am in the project. So if I'm coming in as true owner's rep, then we're usually putting together a budget and understanding what is your budget and how much money do we have for these specific things. And that's really going to drive the decision, because ultimately we all have a budget and we can't afford to do absolutely everything. For example, I'm working on a project right now where we need to replace the roof, and they have really heavy monsoon seasons that don't end until September. And the builder is pushing to replace the roof now and do it in small sections, piece by piece, so that if the rain does come, they can have everything covered before it does. There's a couple of different options you can do for that. You can shrink wrap your roof to protect it during monsoon season. You can put tarps over. There's a lot of different things you can do, but like those options are very expensive. To shrink wrap a roof that's 5,000 square foot home, that's almost $40,000 right there.
Oh my gosh.
We really have to weigh, okay, here's all of our options. What is your comfort level? Maybe they can do this roof in pieces, but if you're not comfortable, then your nervous system is never going to feel safe. It doesn't even matter if they do it well, because your nervous system isn't going to feel safe with that. So it's kind of weighing like who the person is, what they're comfortable with, what the budget is, and trying to just assess what's going to be the best decision for you and your home. It is different for everybody. And, a lot of people ask, well, what would you do? It really depends. I always say, well, if this was my budget and this was what my goal was, then I might do this. But if I had more money in my budget, I'd probably do this. It's going to be different depending on where the budget is. I'd like to start with the budget and just understanding where someone's at. I always like to give everyone all the options, but it doesn't mean that because you took the seemingly lesser option or cheaper option, that it's not the right option, or it's not a good enough option, or it's not a quality option. I think it can still work. So definitely weighing decisions is a really, really hard part of building or renovating a home in general.
Yeah.
So many. But I think the most important things to think of, and we talked about this too on our chat, was like, is the building envelope, right? What are the pieces that are going to make the biggest bang for the buck? And your mechanical systems, your building envelope, those are things that you're probably not going to change later down the road. So we want to get them right now. And that's where we probably want to invest more of the money to making sure they are right. I try to help people understand and see what areas of the build are higher risk or maybe will give you the most bang for your buck.
So I know one of our EMRS colleagues and mentors that consults on new builds said they find it easier to often get EMF mitigation recommendations across the line with general contractors and trades when there is an owner's rep involved, which I found really interesting. Can you shed any light on why you think that could be?
I think it helps when there's sort of a middleman who can help translate things a little bit. So for me, for instance, like working with people who have health issues, it varies like from the type and level of health issues that somebody has, whether it's chemical sensitivity, severe EMF sensitivity to like actual physical disabilities. There is a level of like empathy and there's a way that you need to communicate things to them that's different than maybe a contractor might communicate things. Sometimes the language and the terms that they're using, they don't make sense to the client. And then the client doesn't really want to say, well, that doesn't make sense to me because maybe they feel embarrassed or they're just like, oh, I should know this or something. Or maybe they think they know what the builder is saying and they don't actually know or the consultant. And so there's like sometimes a miss. But I think that part of my job is really making sure like we are super clear, like what is being communicated is super clear to both parties. So if I know that the homeowner has a goal, she has an EMF sensitivity and she says like, when I'm walking by these motion sensors, I feel off. And then the EMF consultant's like, well, I don't know, that shouldn't be an issue, right? And it's like, how do I come in? Because it's a very emotional thing for the homeowner, right? But I can come in without emotion and be like, well, this is what we need to do. Like, let's remove them or whatever it might be. But like to come in as somebody who is non-emotional, non-biased party who can help to clearly communicate and convey the goal of the homeowner in a way that the electromagnetic radiation specialist actually understands, I think can be just really helpful. And then it can also help the electromagnetic radiation specialist feel like they don't have to tiptoe or they can feel a little more confident in what they're saying without feeling like they're going to hurt someone's feelings or say the wrong thing. It just provides a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, the more I learn about it, the more valuable it sounds. So are there any particular aspects of healthy materials or EMF mitigation or mold prevention strategies that you notice are more challenging to get across the line with either the general contractors or the trades?
It really depends. I think it really starts with like, who is your team in the first place? Because there are things like, or on another project I'm working on, all the things that I love to see get done at the end of the project, like to do a full page turn with the whole team to make sure everyone's on the same page and to meet with some of the trades and confirm that the trades actually understand what we have in the drawings and things like that. There are certain project teams that are like, yes, we should do that. Let's collaborate. And then there's certain teams that are like, you know what? We've spent a lot of time coordinating with consultants and we just don't have time for this. Like they're just not going to do it. So I think it's really important to understand who you're working with from the very beginning. That's why I always say collaboration and a team that is excited about learning about this stuff and like doing something different on a project. That's who you want on your healthy home build because they're going to come across things that are new to them. And if your team isn't excited about it, then you're going to inevitably get pushback because they're just over it. They don't want to do it. And so they just say no to say no and then make everything harder for you.
It's such an important question to be for any homeowner embarking on a healthy home build to be asking the people they're thinking of working with is how collaborative are they? How open are they before that contract is signed?
That's like my number one thing that I look for in a builder and an architectural team. Collaboration and excitement.
Yeah. Something I'm also really interested in understanding, as it's something I sit with myself, is obviously the work that you're doing at the moment as an owner's rep. I know that you're focused on one project that's taking up a lot of time, but there are people that may just want someone to look at a floor plan in isolation. And as you and I know, there are so many things that we want to know in order to be able to provide informed guidance. Like we want site testing data. We want to know a lot about the climate, the topography, the soils, the EMF readings, nearby sources of air pollution, all those sorts of things. Do you have a minimum viable engagement and where do you feel that your responsibility begins and ends in that respect? If someone just wants you to look at a floor plan, is that something that you do or is it more of a full service beginning to end?
Yeah. In the beginning, I was just doing one-off plan reviews. And I think a lot of value can be added to a project to have somebody even just looking at your plans and making some comments. And that's kind of what we do in our conscious construction container. You know, we do offer, like, depending on when you join, sometimes we'll do a floor plan review. The thing that's hard is like to do a really in-depth plan review, depending on the size of your build. I mean, that could take 40 hours for someone to do. Like, that's not like, hey, look at my plan and see how it is. To really review a full construction set takes a lot of time. So we're doing a plan review. I'm looking at some of like the main things. I'm looking at like, how's the roof designed? Like, where are the windows placed?
Layout.
The adjacencies that I'm seeing, that like, where's the electrical coming into the home? Like some of the really big things that are missed a lot of times. How detailed is this? And how detailed are they planning to go? And do I need to let know to tell your team, like, we're going to need details on this.
Like the window details, the flashing details.
Right. And like different intersections, like wall to roof. Sometimes people don't even get that on residential builds. So those are the types of plan reviews that we'll do at a very minimum basis when we do like a deep dive call for people. So we'll start with a deep dive call where we spend just a few hours just looking at the plan, making notes, and kind of providing what we think are some of the higher risk areas for people to look at and consider on their build, giving them some direction on like, here's who I would reach out for this, and this. It's definitely helpful, but it's so much more complex than that oftentimes. And so I have moved away from doing as many of those. And I just find that the projects where we can be a full part of the project team are just much more successful, because what I've run into is that I'll do a plan review like that with 6 months later, they reach out and they're in the middle of something and it's not going right. And like that very first project I worked on, Oversight is the biggest indicator of success, I think, on a project. And it doesn't matter who's doing it, but somebody who has knowledge should be doing it. You could have a site super. You could even have the builder has a full-time site super on the project who's watching everything, being there, overseeing the work, making sure they are adhering to the plans. Sometimes the architect will do that for you too. But with an owner's rep, it's really just like an independent third party, not affiliated with builder or the architect, who can really act as the advocate for the owner and their needs. But not everyone has the budget to bring an owner's rep on. So
exactly. That's my next question. So obviously it's every aspiring healthy homeowner's dream to have someone like you involved in a project and all these specialists. But I know that the reality is that homeowners that are investing at this level, it's a whole separate budget for someone like yourself and all the other consultants in addition to the designer and the builder. So what advice do you have for someone that would love to have someone like you involved, but is working within a limited budget? Where should they focus on investing their money?
Well, that is why I created the conscious construction container. Was essentially, that's pretty much like all the checklists I use with my one-on-one clients. It's basically an open book to like what I'm using and how I'm following my own projects. I mean, my own system is developed a little bit different. I use some software on the back end to track things, but pretty much like everything I do and think of and consider is in that conscious construction. And I guide people through what I'm looking for in the envelope, finding an architect, finding a builder, finding your land, and then going into each decision on the interior, bathrooms, kitchens, what decisions are critical. We have mechanical stuff in there. We have different guest experts who've come in and shared stuff on mechanicals, how to read manual JS and Ds. The goal with that was really because if you're going to do this on your own, at least educate yourself so that you can have some tools and resources to get. It's not just a course. It's like a living, breathing encyclopedia of like, hey, this is where I'm at in this stage. Like, click here. I can learn about this piece right now, because there's a lot in there and it can be overwhelming, but you don't need to do it all in one sitting. That's something that I've created for people. But I'd say, other things you can do is just educate yourself. I mean, you don't have to take my program to educate yourself. You can go to Green Building Advisor and Building Science Corp. And there's a lot of different.
There are great resources out there.
So many great free resources that you can use. But what we do in the CCC is like put it all together in a way that we help you manage project. We talk about what pictures you should take and at what stage you should take those photos, because then if something happens, you know what to look back on. It's not just learning how to build the healthy home. It's actually how to manage your project.
Wow.
So it's ever evolving. And we have a community too. So if there are questions that come up, I'm in there answering those. But at the very least, if I was a homeowner who was building a new home and, didn't have a lot of the budget, I would start educating myself way before I even started that project.
Yeah. And so is that something that people can join at any time, or?
Yeah, it was more of a cohort, but now anyone can join at any time.
Awesome. Okay, so now I want to go to one of the most hotly debated topics, OSB, oriented strand board versus plywood.
I'm personally a fan of plywood if we can use plywood over OSB, but at the end, it's usually more expensive.
Yep. When you're in your owner's rep work, if OSB is specified, is that something that you challenge?
Oftentimes, yeah. Like, even though if I'm doing the owner's rep work, if there's already a material specialist on the team, I'll still be like, hey, what was the decision? Why did we choose OSB over plywood? Or I'll ask the question, because it could be because someone's like, well, we're doing all these other things, and this is an area where I want to save money, and I'm not worried about the risk.
Yep. Why do you prefer plywood?
Why choose plywood over OSB?
Yep.
I feel like if there is a water event that happens, it's going to be less susceptible to water damage. There's a lot less glues in it as well, so it's going to have typically lower formaldehyde content.
It's interesting, since spending more time in the USA and speaking to people in this space, in the building science space, there does seem to be a lot more caution around the use of OSB than there is in Australia. So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, it's also interesting, Zara, too, because there's a lot of really big products, popular products, high performance products that are using OSB as part of the product. So we have to be careful. Just because it's touted as a performance product doesn't necessarily mean it's the better option. Sometimes the better option is truly just using plywood and separate self-adhered membrane on it and whatnot. So that's my personal.
Yeah. I've had that exact same thought. At one point, you were considering to come and visit me here in Mexico before your life took a different turn, which we'll get to next. But I shared a photo of some minor water damage in a bedroom. You know, if you were going to come stay with me, I wanted you to know about that. And you weren't bothered at all, which says a lot for how far you've come. We've obviously both been on the path of mold illness. So I know that you've done a lot of work on nervous system regulation, binaural feedback. That's probably really only just scratching the surface. So can you tell me about this and how it intersects with your work? Because I imagine that would also be very helpful for you when you are guiding the clients that you're working with.
Yeah, this one's really hard, and it's taken a really long time to get over the fear of my environment. I mean, there was definitely a time where I was like, we need to move. Like, my bedroom is 2 milligauss. We need to move. This is too high. I mean, stirring in panic and like, we have to get out of here. And we found mold crawl space. And, you know, there was just a lot of different things where anyone who's listening to this, who's dealt with any type of trauma from a mold exposure, it's really hard to get over it. And I don't know that I've necessarily gotten over it. But couple of things that I did that really, really, really helped me. I think there was a few really big awakenings that I've had in my healing journey that like changed the trajectory a bit for me. One of them was realizing how much time I was spending indoors in general. They say we spend 90% of our lives inside. I probably was. Getting outside and actively working more outside, getting out, seeing the morning sun, like practicing circadian health, grounding, and truly like reconnecting with nature was one of the biggest things that really turned things around for me.
Wow.
And having to admit, like, I really am inside a lot. Like, there was a disconnect, right? Like, I'm using natural materials, but like, I was barely getting outside.
Wow.
So there was that. And then neurofeedback was another really big one. So essentially it's just like neuroplasticity, but instead of having to do a lot of the hard work on your own and like repeating mantras and sitting in silence, they just hook you up to this machine and you read a book or you watch a show for like 45 minutes and then they're just rewiring your brain. And I did that for like a year.
Wow.
And that really shifted things for me. It calmed my nervous system and it did so many things for me. It helped my brain fog. I felt like my word finding was much better. It really repaired me in so many ways. And then the third thing I did was a very conscious and intentional act, which was I stopped looking for things that were wrong in my life. Like, I went to the airport. I would used to look for water damage everywhere. I used to scan my environment for threats. And because it was the work I was doing too, I was like, oh, I want to showcase this. So I want to find a thing and then be like, see, this is what you can look for. No. No.
Guilty.
Yeah. And I still do it. Sometimes I will. Like, if something's really bad, you know, like, oh gosh, look at this. But I had to stop doing that because it was so easy to scan and all you're doing is signaling fear to your body. It just created more fear. So now I try to look for the things that are really good in the environment.
I love this.
What is something really beautiful that I see?
Yeah.
But it had to be very intentional to do that. And that really, really helped. And now, I don't know, it just sort of fizzled away where it's like now I actually don't react as much as I would.
Yeah.
Before. It is real, but there is a mental piece to all of this that.
Yeah. And if you're constantly in a state of hypervigilance, then you're going to be more reactive.
Exactly.
I love that you started with yourself and getting into nature and then your mindset, obviously the neurofeedback playing a really important part in the middle. But I think that's really empowering because I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but we feel like we need to outsource our healing and help and spend money on all these different things and different therapies and different modalities. But it's so empowering to hear that actually just really simple things that are free, like getting into nature and watching the sunrise and the sunset and shifting your mindset can be really powerful and maybe the most important things.
Well, let me just say that for the first, 5 years, maybe, I did that. I outsourced everything. I was on hundreds of supplements and doing detox after detox. So I did all those things too. And I did feel better from doing obviously the detox, right? Sauna, getting it out of my body, like getting the toxins out, definitely. But there came a point, I felt like I hit a plateau and I was like, this can't be forever, right? I wasn't feeling any changes for maybe a year or something. And then that's when I was like, I'm missing a piece. And now it's so funny because I'm pregnant now, so I am taking some supplements, but I really don't take that many supplements anymore. I had a handful. My family would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is what I need to do. I think everyone who's on this journey comes full circle to this.
Yes. I feel like that was a common theme at our EMRS training with everyone there having been through the same experiences, going through periods where you're taking so many supplements and so many herbs that it's so overwhelming trying to remember what you're supposed to take each day and all arriving at a point of actually focusing on nervous system healing and things that bring us joy. And something we also just both touched on before we hit record on this podcast. I've got a knee injury at the moment, you encouraging me to rest and saying we're both better at giving the advice and taking it ourselves and not really very good at giving ourselves that permission to rest. So it's all very well to take all the supplements and do all the healing modalities, but if we're never actually giving our bodies time to recover.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got 2 more questions for you. So is there a daily ritual or something that you do at the end of the day? You're supporting someone through a very high stakes, very emotionally loaded decision-making process on their own project. So how do you take care of your own well-being when the stakes on your project are so high and the very real consequences when things go wrong? How do you switch off at the end of the day and not take that into your evening and your weekends?
I'm not as good at practicing what I preach. Because I feel like when I'm really invested in a project or a client, I'm constantly looking at my phone and checking the email. And it goes through phases. I don't know if this happens for you too. You know what you need to be doing, but you don't always do it because you just get caught up in the moment. But recently I was like, okay, I am pregnant. I have to relax for my baby. I need to be more present with this. So I recently just started, but I'm also at this place where I'm but I have so much to do before I get out and I leave and I transfer everything to somebody else. So I've been working a lot to get everything in place. But recently, I don't know how I developed this habit again of just waking up and checking my email. But now it's okay, I'm not going to look at my phone until 10 a.m. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go for the walk in the morning, making myself a nice breakfast, do what I need to do to prepare, whatever it is, my stretches or whatever it's going to be for me. I might look at my email at 9, but I'm not looking at my phone at all. I usually sit down and try to just give myself that moment of not looking at all this external stuff that I need to do and just focusing on me. And man, what a better day you have. I feel like I have so much more to give. I can fill up my clients' cups so much better. I'm more energetic. I'm happier. I feel complete. It's wow, why don't I do this every day? But you get so lost. As much as I'd love to be yes, I do this consistently every single day. It's a roller coaster. It ebbs and flows. And some days I'm better at it than others, even though I know it's what I need to do. But once you realize how good it feels, it's easier to keep doing it because you're yeah, that actually works. And I can be a better service if I do this.
I really relate to that. I've been forced into that position this week and it has made such a difference that by the time you do turn on the emails, it's okay, I'm less reactive. I've had some time to fill my own cup. So that's really powerful. And I know you've got your quiet, I think at the end of the day, do you have a certain time where, your phone's off, social media's off?
Well, in the summertime, it goes a little later, but in the winter, as soon as the sun starts going down, I'm just disconnecting. Yeah. Everything's red if I am on it and really just trying to tune out and read a book. In the summer, it's harder because it's later. So sometimes I find myself, I'm working, it's I'm working till 6 or 7. Again, right now is just a different time because I'm trying to prep a lot before I leave. But I really like our evenings to be really calm, have dinner with my husband where we can just sit together, be present with each other, sit down at a table.
Yep.
My family used to do and go for a walk or just chill. We go to bed at 8 o'clock. So or
I love
9.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are about to become a mum, which is so exciting for you. I could not be more thrilled, even though I was disappointed that it means that your trip to visit me is delayed. I could not be happier for you. And I'm stoked for your child because this little human is going to be so lucky to come into this world with you as his or her mum and into a home that you've created with everything you know from your own experiences. Oh, I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. So, how do you see yourself navigating this chapter with everything that you know?
Oh, man, I don't know. I worry because I already sense, like what we just talked about with trying not to be so hyper vigilant on everything, right? It's the same thing. Like now I have this little human that I'm planning for to take care of. And of course, I'm like, I want to get the non-toxic crib and the mattress and the rug and all the things and make sure the nursery is like, we have a hardwired camera. For a while, I was like, do we really need one? My mom didn't have one for me. Like, it's going to be fine. But like all the things, right? And I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm not a mom yet. And
Fair
so
enough.
I would really like to just try to take that over. I don't want to be super hyper vigilant. I want to be able to be relaxed, but also conscious and just intentional and minimalist. We don't need all the things. Like I want
Yeah.
it to be as low maintenance as possible. But again, we'll see. We'll do another interview whenever the time comes, right?
Yes.
And
Part
I'm
two.
faced with the actual decisions I have to make on
Yeah.
all the different things. So
I'm sure there'll be lots of people that will be interested in that. So now to wrap up, there is a question that you ask each of your guests to close that I'm very excited to put to you. And that is, what are you currently working through as a way to better yourself and evolve your soul on this journey? And is there anything that you'd like to share with your listeners as an opportunity for growth and awakening?
I'm working on like not outsourcing my power and my decisions, especially as it relates to having a baby, because there's so much stuff. And I was at the beginning, Instagram, scrolling all the baby, everything. Like, what do I need to do for this and this? And what's the best this and this? And how do I handle this and this? And then like it got to a point where I was like, man, I'm really outsourcing everything. Like, what if I just took a deep breath and recognized that I've got this? Like,
Yeah,
women
wow.
have been doing this for a millennia. There's no reason that I can't just wing it for the
You've
most
got
part.
this.
So I'm really working on that though, because it's still not like, oh yes, I'm so embodied and like I got this. I'm still consuming, but it's something I'm actively working on because
Yeah.
like, well, do I really need to take this advice? And how many stories do I need to hear? Taking on all this information and not just like going inward to find the answers inside.
Yeah. Our moms didn't have all this. And
Yeah.
hey, we're okay.
Right. So yeah, I'm just really trying to go inward more and find the answers within myself as opposed to ChatGPT or, Instagram or all the places we can get information all the time. I think sometimes it really is best to just sit with ourselves. And I think that goes for like if you're building a house, if you're finding a piece of land, because like we just talked about too, you're going to have a million different people tell you a million different things.
Oh,
And at some point, it really comes down to you sitting with the decision on your own and thinking like, does this decision make sense for me?
yeah.
No, that's what I'm working on right now. And I
I
think,
love that.
yeah,
Well, thank you for allowing me the privilege of interviewing you on your own podcast. And I hope for everyone listening, I know this will be as valuable for homeowners as it will be for practitioners in this field and home designers and builders that are on the healthier building path to get an insight into the incredible work that you're doing. So thank you and good luck with the next chapter that you're about to embark on as a mum.
thank you so much, Zara. This was really great. I'm wondering, I'm going to be out on maternity leave and I'm going to try to get some good episodes for the listeners while I'm out, maybe backlog some things, but maybe you should do some interviews on my podcast to keep the conversation
Really?
going.
You trust me taking over the microphone without you here?
I mean, you're crushing it. So what do you think?
Oh, wow. Well, I've always wanted to have a podcast. We're both manifestors in human design. That sounds like an amazing opportunity to just do a few episodes. I'd love to.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, then you heard it here, people. We've got Zara who's going to lead us in the healthy home conversations
Look out.
when I'm out in October. So yeah, in October, we'll start doing a couple different episodes. I think maybe you've got some good things up your sleeve.
Yeah, I already got some ideas for some people that I'd love to ask lots of questions of.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm honored. Thank you so much, Zara.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode where Zara was able to interview me. She reached out to me and was like, I want to interview you. So I was like, okay, why not? I'm actually getting ready to go on maternity leave starting October 1st. I'm going to be out of the office until January. And so I'm doing my best to actually backlog some episodes for you guys so that we can keep things going every Thursday. But that's a lot of content to backlog. And so I have asked Zara to step in and do some interviews for me. She has some really good ideas, some people that I've really wanted to interview, even some solo episodes that she's going to do. So you guys are going to be hearing quite a bit from Zara over the next few months. You'll probably hear maybe 6 episodes or so where she's actually leading the mission towards spreading information about healthier environments. I really hope that you enjoy these episodes with Zara. If there's anything specific that you want to hear about or you want to learn about, please email us. Email us at hello@awakeningspaces.com. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know if there's someone you think we should interview, and we will make sure to do it. And I'm just really hoping that we can keep dropping episodes every Thursday so that you always have content to listen to get your healthy home fix and, your little dose of inner wisdom every week. She's going to keep that going as well. You'll be hearing from me over the next few episodes. I'm not going in anywhere until October, but I wanted to just share this little announcement for anyone who's listening so that you know what to expect whenever you hear Zara leading the charge and I'm out of the office. So anywho, I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Awakening Spaces podcast. If you're ready to take what you've learned and start applying it to your own home, then there's a few ways that we can support you. On our website, you can find a collection of free and paid guides and courses that will walk you through everything from designing a healthy home to choosing safe materials and reducing mold, chemical, and EMF exposure. And if you're looking for more personalized guidance, then we also offer one-on-one consulting and design support, where we act as your owner's representative to help you plan, manage, and execute your new build or renovation project with confidence. You can explore all of these offerings on our website at awakeningspaces.com. And if this podcast has helped you in any way, we would be so incredibly grateful if you would like, subscribe, and share this podcast so that it can reach more people. Until next time, thank you so much for listening and being here and stepping into what it means to be an awakened homeowner.